Hello once again, and welcome back to another episode of Movie Deputy Reviews, where we are going in depth into another interrogation of a movie that is a long-awaited sequel. If you got yesterday's episode, you'd know what the movie that we're going to be talking about today. And if not, that's okay too. But feel free to go back and check it out, because if you're going to listen to this one, you're going to want that one too, because they kind of go together as there's a sequel of one another. Now, do you need the other one for this one? No, but it kind of helps fill in some of the gaps. But at the same time, this one, you almost get more questions than answers. So you may be wondering what I'm talking about. Well, I am talking about the movie Twisters, the one that we waited, 28 years for. Now, mind you, we didn't wait as long for this sequel as we waited for the new Beetlejuice. But we still, it's almost an entire generation, or a little over an entire generation, technically. And this one is it's entertaining, but I'm going to get into more of that in here in just a second. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. And if you are brand new, welcome. We love to have you. I try to remind people, be sure to hit those buttons. You always get the latest and greatest Movie Deputy content with some health issues. I'm sometimes a little bit scattered on getting some of the episodes up, but I am trying my best to try to stay ahead on some stuff. And actually right now I am traveling with my husband, so I'm actually recording this ahead of time. And we are going on our first real big vacation in a long time. So this is going to be just a getaway thing for us, like I said, that we haven't done in a long time. So feel free to send me a message. I will get back to you as soon as we get home. So if I don't get right back to you, I promise I'm not being rude. But I just kind of wanted to let people know that right up front, because I usually try to respond to those within a day at the latest. But with Twisters, we are taken on a little bit of a journey. Now, the big thing with Twisters is it has to do with storm chasing. Now, storm chasing has kind of always been somewhat of a thing since we've been able to understand weather patterns at all. Hi, Quincy. Quincy's being very entertaining with us tonight. I don't know if you've heard or listened to a couple of my episodes that I've been recording here, but he is being he's entertaining mommy, let's put it that way. Or he's meow me. But like I said, storm chasing has kind of always been a thing since we've been starting to understand weather. But since Twister came out back in 96, it's really been a big thing. People like to go out there and they literally like to chase tornadoes. And then you've got the Weather Channel, and they've got that giant, I don't even know what the vehicle's called. It's not a Defender. It's not a destroyer, obviously. I can't think what it's called, but it's this giant, fortified vehicle specifically for chasing tornadoes, and it's quite interesting. And a lot of people have, since Twister came out, Quincy, leave the microphone alone. Quincy, back up. No. I love being a cat mom, but sometimes it's a little interesting. That's his bell. Quincy, back up. No. You're going to have to get off the desk. No. That's one of the fun things you get with me, is you get my interactions with my babies. Sorry. That's my chair that's squeaking, so I apologize. But so I literally had to push him off the desk because he likes to try to chew on wires, which is never good. And that's why they're not allowed in mommy's office without mommy. But just for that reason. But like I said, storm chasing has kind of become a big thing. And that's kind of where this movie goes. Now, with the sequel to Twisters, obviously Bill is unfortunately passed away. Rest in peace. But Helen Hunt, it's like I didn't know if she was going to come back, or like any of the original, cast members. I didn't know if any of them were going to come back either. But we do see one familiar cast member from the previous movie, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more here in just a moment. But this one focuses more on the chase. It's not, okay, the last one kind of did too, but there was a bit more of a story to it. With this one, there's still a story, but it just almost takes the back seat to the storm chase itself. You've got two competing teams of storm chasers, sound familiar, and one is determined to outwit the other one. It's very similar just in the whole kind of the one team against the other one, what happens with that. And there is a little bit of something that develops between a couple of the characters, but it's not necessarily who or what that you might expect. Now, this one crosses a little bit of a boundary into, it's not like full on woke by any means, but there's definitely some of the more modern stuff that's worked into this movie that we would not have seen in the original Twister movie. So if you're a fan of the original Twister, this one is going to be one that you're going to want to check out. Rating wise, I've really been debating on this one. Guilty, innocent, guilty, innocent. There's a little bit of language, but again, I'm going to go ahead and go innocent on this one. And score wise, if you caught yesterday's program, you know where I scored Twister, and I will say this one is a 1/4 point less. So it's not a whole lot less, and I will reveal what that is to you here shortly. So if you haven't listened to the other program yet, stick around. I promise it's worth it. But in this one, like I said, you have your competing teams, and you've got the whole thing of just who's trying to get ahead of the other one, who's trying to get the information, who's got more money, who's got the better tech, blah, blah, blah. That's where we come into the reoccurring character, because in the original Twister, back in 1996, we saw Dorothy, Dorothy 2, Dorothy 3, and Dorothy 4. In Twisters, we see Dorothy 5, but there is no explanation for how they got Dorothy. There's no tie-in at all to the other story other than Dorothy. So she is the only character that is back from the original movie. Now, can you really say that that's a character? Well, the machine plays such a pivotal role in the story. I think it counts as a character. I really do. I think that counts as a character. It's like counting Johnny Five from Short Circuit and stuff back in the day. He was a machine and he was a character. So though Dorothy doesn't talk, it still plays a very vital role. And so with this one, you see things happening and you see dangerous stuff. And I want to just reiterate, I'm one of these people, I believe you should take the warning labels off of things and just let everything sort itself out. Natural selection, just the whole bit is like, if you're not meant to be here, if you're dumb enough to use a hairdryer in the tub, if you're going to stick a fork into an outlet, these are disclaimers. If you're going to do that stuff and you want to do that, it's completely up to you. But at least in my mind and my understanding, I just do the whole face palm. I'm just like, you, out of the gene pool. Simple. Just simple. Have you ever wanted to say that to somebody? Just you, out of the gene pool. So you are going to see some things in this movie that please do not attempt some of these things. This is extremely dangerous. You will be putting your life at risk. I do not recommend at all. There are people that do this for a living that understand the risks, that don't necessarily, or at least they know how to try to mitigate the risks a little bit. But if you get just your average Joe going out here doing this, it's scary. Now, this one does play homage a little bit to some very specific storms in U.S. history. This one actually, it doesn't directly reference history, but it talks about some of the towns that have seen some of the worst tornado activity, where what was happening in Twister was dealing with some real towns, but it wasn't dealing with real devastation, like actual tornadic devastation, everything that dealt with those areas. Whereas this one kind of goes that path a little bit. Now, mind you, there are references to another very famous movie about tornadoes that came out many years ago. Or I guess it's just a tornado, not tornadoes. But there's even references to The Wizard of Oz in this one. And so that if you're really paying attention, though they might be easy to miss, but it's worth kind of following along for. If you have not seen this yet, and this is one you're going to want to check out, just because like I said, it's entertaining. It's fun. If you are expecting a direct sequel from the other movie, you may be a little bit disappointed. But score-wise, I ended up with a 6.25 out of 10 on the deputy scale. I personally was maybe a little closer to a 7 on one way, and at the same time, almost maybe upper 4s on the other. But again, I have to go back to the thing and look at, okay, watchable, memorable. What's the errors in it? Is there questionable content? What is going on with this? And so that's all the stuff I take into account. If you're wondering where you can find that rating system for yourself, if you ever want to reference it, it is on moviedeputy.com, and you just go to the About page, and the entire rating system is right there to understand, so you can study it and understand it and get a better feel of exactly why I'm rating the movies what I'm rating them. So I hope that helps you out a little bit. I hope that you actually take a chance and check this out, especially if you were a fan of the original Twister. This, like I said, it's not a direct sequel. It doesn't pick up where the story left off. Except for it being in the same universe, you don't necessarily even realize that the two movies are connected until you see Dorothy. And don't worry, that's not a spoiler at all. But again, I hope you have had a bunch of fun. I'm going to have some more movies up for you this next week. And until later, I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.